never chase, never beg, never explain. In a world obsessed with attention, constant validation, and explanations, one of the most powerful tools you can master is silence. Stoic philosophy teaches that restraint is strength. Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca emphasized that your words, actions, and presence carry far more weight than constant justification. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. It protects your energy, builds authority, and sharpens influence. Modern research in psychology and social behavior supports this. People who avoid unnecessary explanations are perceived as more confident, competent, and trustworthy. Behavioral studies show that over-explaining signals insecurity. Chasing approval triggers neediness and diminishes your value in the eyes of others. When you remove these behaviors, your presence commands attention naturally. This video will teach you why never chasing, never begging, and never over-explaining transforms your mental strength, social influence, and personal discipline. You will learn practical Stoic principles that make silence your superpower. By applying these lessons daily, you stop reacting to external validation. You stop wasting emotional energy on unworthy approval. You become deliberate in your words, intentional in your actions, and calm in the face of pressure. Subscribe to this channel to get more applied Stoicism, practical life strategies, and mental training you can use immediately. Each lesson here is designed to protect your energy, sharpen your influence, and build unshakable confidence. 1. Control your need for approval. Most anxiety and frustration come from seeking validation. Neuroscience shows that the brain's reward system reacts to social approval the same way it reacts to food or money. When you chase approval, you give others control over your emotional state. Your mood becomes dependent on someone else's perception, which is unpredictable and outside your influence. By relinquishing this need, you regain emotional autonomy and stability. Stoics like Epictetus taught that your opinions, actions, and judgments are yours alone. Public opinion is outside your control. Every morning, remind yourself, I will not seek approval today. I act according to principle, not applause. This simple affirmation reframes your mindset. You begin the day by focusing on your own standards rather than reacting to imagined judgment or criticism. This mindset frees your energy. You stop over-explaining decisions. You stop begging for attention. Silence replaces overreaction, and authority grows naturally. People notice confidence without the need for demonstration. When your behavior is consistent with principle, your presence carries more weight than constant verbal persuasion. Social psychology confirms that over-explaining signals insecurity. Individuals who justify themselves repeatedly are perceived as less competent and less trustworthy. Conversely, those who act with quiet authority attract respect. By committing to silence in situations where explanation is unnecessary, you train others to trust your judgment without requiring proof or defense. Morning practice strengthens this principle. Before engaging with others, remind yourself of situations where you might feel the urge to seek approval. Visualize staying calm, composed, and silent, letting your actions speak. Over time, this builds internal authority and reduces emotional dependence on external validation. Long term, controlling the need for approval enhances decision-making. You act from clarity, not fear of judgment. Relationships improve because you interact authentically instead of performing for acceptance. Career growth accelerates because you make principled choices without hesitation. Silence becomes your superpower, rooted in discipline, autonomy, and integrity too. Speak less, act more. Silence amplifies action. When you constantly explain yourself, your achievements lose impact. Social psychology confirms that individuals who speak less but act decisively are perceived as more competent, reliable, and trustworthy. Words alone can create expectations, but actions provide evidence. People remember what you do far longer than what you say. Marcus Aurelius emphasized that integrity shows in deeds, not words. He valued consistent action aligned with principle over constant explanation. By reminding yourself each morning, today, my actions will speak louder than my words, you prioritize execution over justification. This shifts your mindset from reacting to others to proactively creating results. Focus on doing rather than just justifying. Each task completed, each problem solved, and each promise kept becomes proof of your value. Over-explaining dilutes this effect, as attention shifts from achievement to rationalization. Silence in this context is not passivity, it is deliberate restraint that enhances credibility. Research in leadership psychology shows that leaders who demonstrate results without excessive communication are more influential. Their teams trust them because their reliability is proven, not claimed. By acting more and talking less, you increase authority, build respect, and naturally attract support from those around you. Morning practice. Identify one task or responsibility where you typically over-explain. Commit to completing it with minimal discussion. Reflect at the end of the day on how restraint affected perception and outcomes. Over time, this habit trains your mind to value action over words, creating a presence that commands respect without effort. 3. Let others reveal their true intentions. When you stop chasing, people reveal themselves. Constant pursuit or attempts to justify your actions create pressure, and under pressure, individuals often reveal their true motives. Behavioral science shows that defensive behaviors, dishonesty, or opportunism increase when someone feels pushed or manipulated. By removing yourself from the chase, you allow natural dynamics to emerge. Releasing the need to explain or beg gives you clarity about relationships and boundaries. People who respect your silence and respond with integrity are those who value you genuinely. Those who react negatively, attempt to control, or manipulate reveal themselves quickly. This is a filter that saves time, energy, and emotional bandwidth. Morning practice. Remind yourself, I will observe others without reaction. Approach interactions with calm and neutrality. Instead of rushing to defend or justify, watch behavior, tone, and consistency. Over time, this builds discernment. You learn to distinguish between authentic respect and conditional attention based on your efforts to chase or explain. Your silence becomes a mirror. People project their true selves when you remain composed. Some will show patience, honesty, and appreciation. Others may reveal self-interest, entitlement, or aggression. By staying silent, you gather information without confrontation, creating a powerful tool for social insight. Long term, this principle protects your energy. You invest in relationships that reciprocate respect and disengage from those that drain you. Silence becomes an active strategy, allowing you to cultivate influence and presence while letting others' behaviors naturally define their role in your life. It is one of the strongest forms of subtle authority and personal power. 4. Silence protects your energy. Every explanation, chase, or attempt to justify yourself consumes mental and emotional energy. Psychology research shows that self-control is a finite resource. Every unnecessary effort to persuade, defend, or gain approval depletes your willpower. Over time, this constant drain reduces focus, patience, and resilience. Silence conserves energy for actions and decisions that truly matter. When you tell yourself, I will not waste energy on unworthy attention, you begin to prioritize what deserves your focus. Energy is a limited resource. By protecting it, you can direct attention toward skill development, meaningful work, and relationships that are reciprocal. Silence becomes a form of discipline, ensuring that your efforts generate real impact. Choosing silence strategically also strengthens your emotional stability. When confronted with criticism, gossip, or provocation, responding impulsively can escalate tension and deplete energy. By pausing or remaining silent, you conserve your mental resources, reduce stress, and maintain control over your emotional state. Calm becomes your default, not a reactive state. Silence is not avoidance, it is deliberate action. You are actively deciding where your energy flows. This choice improves decision-making, enhances productivity, and protects mental clarity. Over time, people notice your composure and reliability, which further amplifies your influence without additional effort. Morning practice. Identify one situation each day where you are tempted to justify, chase, or over-explain. Commit to restraint and observe the results. Journal the difference in your energy levels and effectiveness. Over weeks, this habit trains your mind to conserve focus, acting from strength rather than fatigue, and creating a presence that commands respect naturally. 5. Your presence speaks louder than words. Authority is often conveyed non-verbally. Research in psychology shows that confident posture, steady eye contact, calm gestures, and measured speech have a greater impact on perception than constant talking. People respond to presence before words. Silence amplifies this effect because when you speak less, your words carry more weight. Affirmation: I communicate power through presence, not explanation. When you internalize this daily, you begin to prioritize how you show up rather than what you say. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to project composure, confidence, and self-assurance without needing to over-explain. Your silence signals that you are centered and self-sufficient. It communicates that you are intentional with your energy and that your actions matter more than empty words. People naturally give more attention and respect to someone who is calm, deliberate, and measured. The less you over-explain, the more curiosity and focus your presence generates. Morning practice. Spend 5 minutes observing your posture, facial expressions, and tone before leaving your space. Ask yourself, does my presence reflect the authority I want to convey today? Practice speaking only when necessary, with clarity and confidence, and notice how people respond differently to your controlled energy. Over time, your presence becomes your silent influence. People begin to trust your judgment, follow your lead, and respect your boundaries without you needing to assert them verbally. Silence becomes a tool of authority, reinforcing your credibility, leadership, and personal power consistently in every environment. 6. Chasing diminishes value. Scarcity increases perceived value. Social psychology confirms that people naturally respect and are drawn to individuals who maintain boundaries and do not give themselves away freely. When you constantly chase attention, validation, or approval, you signal neediness and dependency. This behavior diminishes respect and undermines influence. Daily reminder: I do not chase what does not align with my principles. This is not arrogance, it is self-respect. By refusing to pursue people, promotions, or recognition that compromise your integrity, you reinforce your standards and signal that your time and energy are precious. Boundaries create clarity about who belongs in your life and who does not. Chasing also distorts your emotional state. When your sense of worth depends on the approval or presence of others, your mood fluctuates with their responses. Silence and restraint stabilize your mental and emotional energy. By withholding the urge to chase, you protect your composure and maintain consistent confidence regardless of external circumstances. Silence, in this context, creates natural allure. People notice when someone does not react to every opportunity, request, or expectation. When you act with self-sufficiency and restraint, your attention becomes earned rather than demanded. Others are drawn to your measured energy and reliability. Morning practice. Identify one area where you feel tempted to chase approval or attention today. Remind yourself to step back and observe instead of pursuing. Reflect at the end of the day on how your restraint affected interactions and perception. Over time, this habit strengthens self-worth, reinforces boundaries, and turns your presence into a quiet form of influence and attraction. 7. Avoid over-explaining decisions. Over-explaining implies doubt or insecurity. Behavioral studies and communication show that providing unnecessary explanations signals low confidence and can decrease perceived competence. When you justify yourself excessively, others may unconsciously question your judgment or assume hidden motives. Silence in decision-making conveys certainty and strength. Morning affirmation: I will explain only what is necessary. My integrity needs no defense. By repeating this daily, you train your mind to differentiate between essential communication and unnecessary justification. This reduces mental clutter, conserves energy, and strengthens focus on meaningful action rather than defensive speech. Every decision you make is a reflection of your principles. When you refrain from over-explaining, you show trust in your own judgment. Others begin to recognize that your choices are deliberate and grounded in logic, not emotional reaction. This builds credibility over time. Over-explaining also slows down progress. When you constantly justify yourself, interactions become longer, and your energy disperses across defending choices instead of executing them. By speaking only when necessary, you streamline communication, maintain control of your time, and conserve mental bandwidth. Social perception changes dramatically when restraint becomes habitual. People begin to respect your boundaries and trust that your silence does not indicate weakness but thoughtful deliberation. Your words gain influence because they are rare, intentional, and aligned with action. Morning practice. Identify one decision today where you typically feel compelled to justify. Pause before explaining. Ask yourself, Is this explanation necessary for clarity or understanding? Over time, this habit trains self-confidence, reinforces integrity, and transforms your presence into one that commands attention without unnecessary words. 8. Practice strategic withdrawal. Sometimes the most powerful action is stepping back. Stoic philosophy calls this apatheia, detachment from unnecessary influence and emotional disturbance. By removing yourself from conflict, gossip, or situations that drain energy, you create space to think clearly, act deliberately, and maintain composure. Strategic withdrawal is an exercise in control, not avoidance. Affirmation: I withdraw from situations that drain me. My peace is my priority. Repeating this daily reminds your mind that your well-being is not negotiable. You choose which battles to engage in and which to observe from a calm distance. This practice strengthens patience and reduces impulsive reactions. Withdrawal allows observation. When you step back silently, you can evaluate others' behaviors objectively. People reveal their intentions and patterns when you do not react immediately. This insight gives you a tactical advantage in relationships, negotiations, and social dynamics. Strategic silence also preserves energy for meaningful action. Instead of dispersing effort in arguments or defending yourself against unnecessary challenges, you invest focus in tasks, self-improvement, and relationships that align with your principles. This increases productivity and reduces stress. Morning practice. Identify situations that may trigger conflict or emotional drain today. Visualize yourself remaining silent and stepping back. Reflect at night on how this restraint influenced outcomes, your energy, and the perception others had of your calm authority. Over time, withdrawal becomes a disciplined tool that enhances influence, clarity, and emotional strength. 9. Observe, then respond. Silence creates space for observation before reaction. Cognitive psychology shows that delaying response reduces emotional bias and improves decision-making. Immediate reactions are often driven by amygdala-triggered impulses, not rational thought. By pausing, you engage the prefrontal cortex, allowing reason to guide your actions instead of unchecked emotion. Morning reminder: I will watch before I act. I respond from wisdom, not impulse. This affirmation sets a daily intention to prioritize observation over immediate reaction. Each time you practice it, you train your mind to identify emotional triggers, assess context, and choose the most effective course of action. Observation also provides clarity about others' behaviors. When people are emotional, manipulative, or reactive, your silence allows you to see their true motives. You gain insight into relationships, power dynamics, and social patterns that are invisible to those who react hastily. By responding deliberately rather than reacting impulsively, you maintain composure. Calmness communicates authority and self-mastery. Even in tense situations, your measured responses inspire respect and prevent unnecessary escalation. Silence becomes a tool of strategic influence rather than avoidance. Morning practice. In your first interaction of the day, consciously pause before speaking. Notice your emotional response. Gather information, and respond intentionally. Reflect at night on how this approach affected the outcome, your energy, and others' reactions. Over time, this habit strengthens mental clarity, emotional regulation, and social influence. 10. Let results speak for themselves. The ultimate power of silence is letting outcomes reveal your value. Stoics emphasized virtue and action over seeking recognition or approval. When your work, discipline, and conduct are aligned with principle, external validation becomes unnecessary. Success, respect, and influence follow naturally from consistent effort rather than excessive explanation. Affirmation: I will focus on my effort. The results will speak for me. Repeating this each morning reminds you to prioritize action over reaction. Your energy shifts from seeking praise to producing tangible results, which ultimately carry more weight than any words or justifications. Silence amplifies the impact of your achievements. When you do not announce or over-explain, people notice outcomes more clearly. Consistent performance without fanfare signals reliability, competence, and authority. Others begin to trust your judgment instinctively because they see your actions align with your words. Over time, this principle strengthens personal integrity. By letting results demonstrate your value, you reduce stress, frustration, and the need for approval. your reputation becomes self-evident and resilient, impervious to gossip, criticism, or misunderstanding. Silence reinforces your credibility as people witness your competence rather than hear empty assurances. Morning practice. Identify one project, task, or interaction today where you will act fully and speak minimally. Observe how the outcome communicates your capability. Reflect at night on how this restraint influenced perception, respect, and influence. With repeated practice, you train yourself to become a person whose presence, actions, and results naturally command attention and respect without chasing, begging, or over-explaining. Silence is not weakness. It is discipline, strategy, and power. When you stop chasing, begging, and over-explaining, you reclaim control over your energy, your decisions, and your presence. You stop reacting impulsively and start acting intentionally. Your actions, not your words, create authority. Your boundaries, restraint, and composure become visible in every interaction. People begin to respect and trust you naturally because you act with principle, not emotion. Daily practice is essential. Begin each morning with affirmations that reinforce self-control, patience, and observation. Step back when necessary. Focus on effort over approval, and let results speak for themselves. Over weeks, your mind rewires, emotional reactions decrease, clarity increases, and influence strengthens. Remember, your silence is your signal. It communicates confidence, intelligence, and integrity without needing explanation. It protects your energy, enhances your presence, and magnifies the impact of every decision you make. If these lessons resonate, subscribe to this channel for more practical Stoic strategies, mental strength exercises, and guidance on mastering your energy, focus, and influence. Commit to practicing these principles, and watch how your silence transforms into your greatest superpower.